When you think of Vikings, what comes to mind? Beards, axes, and raids, right? But what if I told you their lives were about much more than fighting? What did they do day to day when they weren't pillaging? Prepare to discover the secrets of Viking life. Far from the battlefields and rough seas, Vikings lived a rich and complex life, full of rituals, beliefs, and daily tasks that are rarely shown in legends. They were farmers, artisans, and family people, and the way they spent their time revealed the true heart of their culture. Let's dive into the details of a Viking's daily life, uncovering the secrets hidden beneath the surface. The popular image of the Viking warrior, with his axe and helmet, hides a fundamental and much more complex truth, that above all, they were farmers. Farming was the backbone of their society, the foundation upon which their entire life and economy rested. The survival of an entire family, a clan, and ultimately an entire settlement depended directly on a successful harvest. It wasn't a hobby or a secondary activity, it was the most vital work of all. The cycle of the seasons shaped the Vikings' lives with relentless precision. In the spring, the hard work began with plowing the land, a difficult task performed with simple plows pulled by oxen. They planted grains resilient to cold weather, like barley, rye, and oats, which were the pillars of their diet. These grains were used not just for making bread, but also for daily porridge, and crucially, for the production of ale and mead, essential beverages both for nutrition and for socialization and rituals. During the summer, caring for the crops was a constant task, requiring vigilance against pests and bad weather. A successful harvest in the fall was a cause for great celebration, as it ensured the community would have food to get through the long and harsh winter months. In addition to growing grains, Vikings raised livestock such as cows, goats, sheep, and pigs. These animals provided not only meat, milk, and cheese, but also wool for clothing and leather for tools and equipment. The life of the Viking farmer was one of hard work, but also of a deep connection to the land and the cycles of nature that dictated every aspect of their existence. The strength of Viking society wasn't just in their swords, but in the ingenuity of their hands. They were incredible artisans, creating everything they needed to survive and thrive, transforming raw materials into everyday objects, tools, and works of art. Working with wood was a revered skill. With axes and knives, they carved everything from bowls and furniture to the imposing ships, like the famous longships, which were true masterpieces of naval engineering. Each intricate carving on the bow posts or house panels told a story or represented a belief, showing that aesthetics were inseparable from functionality. Metalworking was a vital and sacred skill, often associated with magic. Viking smiths, or smithier, were figures of great respect. They spent hours forging agricultural tools, nails for ships, and of course, the legendary weapons. Iron was heated and expertly shaped to create durable and sharp battle axes, swords, and spearheads. Women, in turn, were masters of textile work. They transformed the wool from their sheep into warm clothing and blankets, using spindles and looms to weave complex patterns. Crucially, they also produced the enormous woolen sails that powered Viking ships, enabling exploration and trade. Art and skill were in every aspect of their lives, from silver and bronze jewelry to richly decorated wooden objects, showing a people who valued creativity and beauty as much as strength. Contrary to the popular image of dirty and unkempt warriors, Vikings were, in fact, extremely concerned with personal hygiene and appearance. This was a vital part of their culture and a mark of status and respect. The belief that Vikings were sloppy largely comes from accounts by their enemies, who often saw them as barbarian invaders. However, archaeological evidence tells a very different story. In almost every Viking excavation site, personal grooming objects are found, such as combs made of bone and antler, tweezers, razors, and small ear cleaners. This suggests that hygiene was a daily and well-established routine. They bathed regularly, not just in rivers and lakes, but also in hot springs, where the natural heat made cleaning easier. And Old English legend said that they bathed on Saturdays, which indicates that this practice was so notable it was commented on by other cultures. Personal appearance was a reflection of pride and identity. Men and women groomed their hair and dressed in wool and linen clothing, often dyed in vibrant colors using natural dyes. The use of rings, brooches, bracelets, and necklaces was not just for adornment, but also to display wealth and clan affiliation. An impeccable appearance and the wearing of jewelry were a form of nonverbal communication that demonstrated status, wealth, and self-respect. For the Vikings, being clean and well-groomed was a sign of civilization and a way to stand out in a world where physical strength was only one part of the equation. Viking society was complex, and contrary to popular belief, the role of women was not limited to the domestic sphere. Viking women had a remarkable status and autonomy for their time, with rights that many of their female contemporaries in other medieval cultures did not possess. While men were on long journeys of exploration and trade, women were the true managers of the home and farms. They took care of agricultural production, supervised slaves, and managed finances, making crucial decisions for the survival and prosperity of their families. They held the role of lady of the house, which gave them great authority. Viking law guaranteed women the right to inherit property and, in some cases, even to own land themselves, something unthinkable in most European cultures of the Middle Ages. They also had the right to request a divorce, simply by presenting witnesses who confirmed the husband's abuse or inability to support the family. Women could even bring their own complaints and legal cases to community assemblies, called things. In addition to being heads of households, some women stood out as warriors, or skaldmar, and spiritual leaders, the volar, who were prophetesses and healers. The respect and influence that Viking women wielded in their society were a reflection of their fundamental importance, not just for survival, but for the very culture and social structure. The family was, without a doubt, the center of Viking life, and childhood was not just a period of innocence, but a crucial time of learning and preparation. Children were seen not merely as future warriors or farmers, but as direct heirs of the clan, carriers of the family's legacy and identity. From a young age, they learned survival skills and cultural values by actively observing and participating in their parents' daily activities. Boys, for example, didn't just play with wooden swords. They also trained with weapons, learned to track animals and to navigate, skills that would be vital for hunting, exploration, and warfare. Daughters, in turn, learned to spin and weave, cook, and manage the household with their mothers and grandmothers. They were prepared for household leadership and farm management, ensuring that the clan's legacy would continue even when the men were away on their expeditions. Education was practical and direct, without the need for formal schools. Parents and older clan members were the main teachers, transmitting knowledge orally through stories and sagas that were told and retold around the fire. The strong sense of belonging and the rigorous preparation for adulthood ensured that when the time came, young Vikings were ready to take on their responsibilities and continue the life and survival cycle of their community. Viking life, despite its hardships and dangers, was not just about hard work and survival. Leisure and entertainment played a vital role in society, serving to strengthen social bonds, preserve culture, and relieve the stress of daily life. They had a rich calendar of festivals and celebrations that marked important events like weddings, funerals, and the changing of the seasons. At these gatherings, music, dance, and of course, banquets and the consumption of ale and mead flowed freely, creating an atmosphere of unity and celebration. Board games were a popular form of pastime. Knefatafel, known as the King's Game, was the most famous. It was a strategy game, similar to chess, where one team defended a central piece, the king, while the other tried to capture it. This wasn't just a game, it was a way to practice tactical thinking, crucial for warfare. Other games, such as dice and word games, were also common, encouraging intelligence and wit. Poetry and oral storytelling were the backbone of their culture and a form of entertainment of great importance. The sagas, long epic stories about heroes, gods, and legends, were told and retold around the fire, transmitting ancestral knowledge and the moral values of society. The skills of a good storyteller were highly valued, and the skalds, poets, and bards were figures of great prestige. Through leisure, Vikings not only had fun, but also reinforced their identity.